Hey guys, welcome to our seventh edition of the weekly missions roundtable brought to you by the MTW West Coast office. I am your host and director, Mike Pettengill. Over there, someplace above or below or to my side is Anthony English, assistant director. Anthony, introduce yourself.
Hey, assistant director, Anthony English.
And then we've got Ali Hazrati, who's our glue, the one that holds everything together. Ali, say hey.
Hi, welcome back.
And we have a special guest. Rachel, introduce yourself. She is a itinerating missionary. We'll talk about that crazy term. What does it mean? An itinerating missionary to Thailand with MTW. Say hey, Rach.
Hi.
So we're excited to have Rachel with us today. She is itinerating, which means she's currently in the process of getting trained and raising support so that she can be a full-time MTW missionary in Thailand. And we're excited to have her with us, and we want to kind of spend the next couple of minutes to talk about her ministry and kind of learn what she's going to be doing and learn where she is now. So Ali, why don't you go ahead and take it from here?
Awesome, thank you so much. Well, Rachel, again, thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your call to missions and how you ended up going to, just how the Lord led you to Thailand?
Well, I'm really excited to be here because this is my favorite thing to talk about. I grew up in the church, and a lot of people wonder whether kids are actually saved when they profess Christ, because so many kids do it because that's what their parents do. So I asked my dad years later, and he said, oh no, it was like a light switch. And so I know that when I was 4, Jesus became my best friend. And when I was 7, he became my king. And it was at that time that I said, okay, if he's king, he gets to tell me what to do. So I guess the biggest thing that he could tell me to do is what to be when I grow up. And so I just waited and waited and waited until I was about 14. He first directed me toward missions. Actually, I was at a youth conference, and the missions speaker that week said, you know, if you think that God is calling you to be a missionary, he probably is. And so it was like, green light, and I have just been going from there. And then what was your other question?
Or how did he direct you towards Thailand, or how did God place that calling on your heart?
That actually started the same year. When I was 14, the idea of missions came around because a friend of mine came back from Thailand for a 2-week trip, and she had worked with an orphanage, and I thought, you know, if God has called us to love orphans and widows as true religion, then I belong with the orphans. And in my little teenage mind, I thought that all the orphans were in Thailand. So I ended up learning, embarrassingly, like 4 years later, realizing that that wasn't the case. But I kept asking God, are you sure that this is where you want me? Are you sure that Thailand is the place? And over the last 10 years, he's just said, yep, mm-hmm, yep, over and over. So
that's awesome. Thank you for
Love
sharing.
your heart. I love your heart. Hey, Anthony, what about you? What can you get Rachel to talk about next?
I want to know. So, what will you be doing over in Thailand? So, what's the main, goal? What's your main ministry or ministries? Let us know.
Yeah. So over the years, I've come to learn that when God said to love the orphan and the widow, that what he was talking about was loving the underdog of society, the people who are outcast, who are downtrodden, who are rejected or forgotten, whether that is somebody who is terminally sick or just chronically sick, somebody who's really poor, somebody who is a widow or an orphan. And so our primary mission in Thailand, in Bangkok in particular, is to plant churches by loving our neighbors. And I, in particular, am going to be working with people in the slums. I think that the slums offer a lot of opportunity for all of people in those walks of life because they're uncared for to start with. And then if they go through something hard in life, there's nothing extra to catch them. So that's what I'm really excited about. Just playing. I have heard that the thing to do in Thailand is to learn how to play games like Uno, how to walk down the street and have a conversation with somebody that you meet, how to have dinner with somebody. So I'm excited for just relational life and inviting them into the love of Christ.
I love that. I love that. All right. So with that said, why should be, I mean, part of being a missionary is inviting people to partner with you. You know, a lot of times we think of financial support as just giving money and that's it. But no, you're asking people to partner with you in the work that God is already doing there in Thailand. And now he's inviting you to partner with what he's already been doing. And now you are inviting people to partner with you and Jesus in the work. So go ahead and talk to those who are listening. Share your heart.
Well, there are a lot of views in the church that there's a lot of people who think that being in full-time ministry is some higher calling. And if that is the case, then I would argue that you don't see your own position in the body of Christ and in where you are in life as a calling, because you're there because God put you there. And your part is an equal part. However, my part doesn't make money. So much like a pastor, it's full-time. It's almost like being a full-time volunteer. And so I'm asking you to partner with Christ in his work by supporting the work that I'm doing, just like you support your pastor with your weekly, monthly tithe.
Well, come on, give us the digits. So if somebody's listening to this right now, and somebody wants to get a hold of you, and they say, I want to pray for Rachel, and I want to pray for Thailand, and I want to get more information, where do they go? How do they get that information?
So you can email me. That's probably going to be the most reliable way of getting a hold of me. My email address, are you going to put it in the comments, Mike?
Yeah, we'll get it up there.
Cool. But it is stugsjoy, STUGSJOY @gmail.com. Or you can find me on Facebook as Rachel Stugart. I think it's showing up on my little name thing in the bottom corner. I am about 65% funded right now, so I'm looking forward to going as soon as I can. Hopefully January. January is my goal date.
Awesome. So let me give you two final quick questions, and then we'll close out. So the language. I mean, let's talk about the language. So I've had the privilege of formally studying 5 different languages in my life just to learn that I stink at languages, and Thai. That looks horrible and scary to me. Where are you on that? Are you as horrified as I am even thinking about it?
Not even close. I'm not horrified at all. Thai is a tonal language, just like Japanese or Chinese, but the writing is much like our English alphabet, where a single character is a sound. There's some complications with that, but it's pretty straightforward as soon as you get the gist of it. So,
you're a brave soul.
Oh, thanks. I have no idea how good I'm going to be at actually learning.
I think your humble heart is gonna serve you well in that context. So, final tough question for you is, what's COVID done to your support raising? You've been raised in support. You raised support before COVID started, and now you're in the midst of all of it. How's that impacted you and your support raising and your team building?
COVID has given me an opportunity actually to, number one, learn how to be a better missionary where I'm at. Working at a food bank right now, and something that I'm finding is that there is a way to honor Jesus in every single conversation that I have, and a lot of the time it's explicit. It's just having the courage and listening to the Holy Spirit's leading on that. So that has been really cool, and my team is starting to bond via Zoom because we now all know how to use it. And we're going through a book together about the Thai culture. So those are exciting things that COVID has brought us. On the support raising end, it's been tough because it's hard to say, yes, this is a really hard time and people are suffering all over the world and almost collectively all over the world. We're all doing this together individually. And at the same time, hold the view that the call of Christ is more valuable because it speaks to COVID. It says Jesus heals. It says Jesus saves during and after this life. And so when people are afraid for their resources because of COVID, it's hard to say, but will you give some of those? And be compassionate. But something that I think I probably need to learn is that I am also going through COVID, so it's not discompassionate to pursue what God has actually called me to do.
Yeah, awesome. So the awesome thing about missions is that the exact same God that ordained you to go and ordained you to get trained and raise support and get on an airplane and go make yourself uncomfortable, that same God has ordained others to come alongside you and ordain them to pray for you and ordain them to financially support you. And so that's what I hope that there's someone out there that's hearing this right now. And you wondered, you were sitting there just a couple of days ago wondering, gee, what do I do with this stimulus check? Or gee, what do I do with all the financial resources that I have left over after remodeling my bathroom? What do I do now? Right here, right next to us is Rachel, and she's got a great heart to serve in Thailand. And here's a great way to glorify the Lord with all the blessings He's given you to give back to Him. So, Rachel, one last time, give us your email.
It's Stugsjoy, STUGSJOY @gmail.com.
And then check her out at Facebook at
Rachel Stugart.
Awesome. All right, guys, thank you very much. We'll see you next week for our next weekly roundtable. And then wait, Anthony has to interrupt. Go ahead, Anthony. Screw up that outro for me.
I gotta interrupt because may I just say the email is very creative. And Rachel, one last question. What sounds better to you? Mike and the Millennials are weekly missions roundtable. What sounds good to you? Because I mean, you not only you humble, but you're creative as well. What grabs you, Rachel?
All right, so that's all the time we have for today. So see you next week for the weekly missions roundtable. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.